in Motion, which is available at this table
right here.
And it's the history of the band from start to finish. I'm talking about all the way to 72, all the way in the very, very early days, all the way to today, with the band performing with Arnel Pineda. And that special person is Dr. David Hamilton Golland, right here.
Yeah, that's my dad.
And we thought before we started the show, we'd do a little history lesson on Journey, because a lot of folks don't realize some of the cool trivia facts about Journey, such as the band has never had a #1 hit. Believe it or not. Yeah. Exactly. Right? That's what I said when I discovered that. Shocking. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. David Hamilton Golland.
Yeah.
So, before David became a doctor in the studies of social sciences and so forth, he actually ran a Journey website called the Journey Center, which is still up and running on the interwebs today. And he started this in October of 2000, so it's been around for 24, going on some 25 years here pretty soon. And it was at one point the most trafficked Journey site on the web back in the early days. And so my question to you is, why Journey, man? You could have written a book about any rock band you wanted. David is an author. He's got several books under his belt, but for some reason, Journey tickles his fancy. Why?
Thank you, Mark, and thanks everybody for coming out. I can't wait to hear Eclipse. How about a round of applause for Eclipse coming out in just a few minutes, and for my friend Mark Ricche right here. And just like everyone else who's here, I became a Journey fan. It's personal. I wrote this book because I'm a Journey fan. And for me, it was, I was about to take a shot on a pool table in the summer of 1982. Yes, I'm older than I look. And Don't Stop Believing came on the jukebox, and I was just riveted for all, 3 minutes, 25 seconds, something like that. And I've been a huge Journey fan ever since.
Rock on. Now, David has had the good fortune of meeting several, or speaking to several of the band members. Could you share with us who you've spoken to over the years, who you've had a chance to interview, who you've chatted with on the phone, who you may have bumped into at concerts?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, bumped into is a funny story. So I went to see Journey one year at Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, and ran into Neil Sean, and I was holding my Journey license plate. Remember those? Some of us big fans. Some of you folks out here might have old Journey license plates that you still have in your closet, right? And I was walking with the Journey license plate, and there he was, and he started chatting with me, and we talked about it for a little bit, and he said, so you want me to sign that? And I said, actually, you already did a year ago at another concert. So, yeah. But I've interviewed probably about 2/3 of the current and former members of the band. My favorite interview, sadly, was with George Tigner, the original guitarist from back in the 1970s, who died in the summer of 2022, and I co-dedicated the book in his memory.
Wait a minute, didn't you meet the drummer? Didn't you meet Smith?
Yeah, I met Steve Smith long after he left Journey, but before he came back into Journey, and long before the lawsuit of 2020. Met Steve Smith at the Bottom Line Club in Greenwich Village, New York City, and he was performing with his jazz band Vital Information. And you know what a gentleman Steve Smith is. And the other real gentleman of this band, by the way, is Greg Raleigh, the original lead singer and organ player, who had been the original lead singer and organ player for Santana. He's the fellow who sang Black Magic Woman, but you're going to hear probably, I don't know what the set list is, but if you hear Feeling That Way at any time tonight from Journey, he was the original lead singer for that, with Steve Perry, of course.
Yeah, they may be opening the show with that. Dynamite, so can you explain something to me? The band is still touring, just celebrated 50 years. What is it about Journey that allows them to continue entertaining for 50-some years?
I'm tempted to say the lead guitarist has bills to pay, and so they just keep going out there on the road. One of those bills that he has to pay, by the way, is Steve Perry, because he has an agreement with Steve Perry that he give him a portion of his income still to this day. But the real reason, right, is the same reason why we're all here. It's because of the music. This is timeless music that we've been hearing since we were, slow dancing to Open Arms in the junior high school gym, right? And so that's been the reason for me, and that's why I think people still come to their journey today. Even though, by the way, they only have 2 more original members than this band tonight does.
So I wanted to, I mentioned earlier on when I was introducing David that the band has never had a #1 hit. In fact, they've only had 1 song that got to #2. Does anyone out in the audience want to take a gander as to what that song? This guy has his hand ready. Faithfully is incorrect. Anybody else want to take a gander? The song that made it to #2. Don't Stop Believing is incorrect. Shockingly, Don't Stop Believing never charted in the top 10. Which album? I can tell you which album it was. Say it again. Oh no, say it! Everybody wants to know. He's yanking your chain, folks. The correct answer is Open Arms. Open Arms got to #2. So how is it that a band that has so many indelible hits, impressed on our minds, never got that #1 hit? And I think David can explain that to me.
Well, Mark, the first time you asked me that question, I answered over the course of like 45 minutes. I was totally in professor mode. That's not what people want to hear tonight. I think the main reason, probably the quickest reason, is that they didn't release their singles all at once. They timed them out. And so when they released singles, each of those singles had to compete with Billie Jean, Let's Go Crazy, right? Billy Squire. Well, Billie Jean by Michael Jackson, Let's Go Crazy by Prince, Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time, and some of those #1 hits, they jumped to the top, and then they jumped right back down again, but they called it a #1 hit. Journey songs would jump almost to the top, and then they kind of hang there, week after week after week, month after month after month. But there was an album that Journey put out that was #1 on the album charts. Do you want to do that thing you did, or
Come on, who can guess what album ranks #1 on the charts from Journey? That's an easy answer. Escape is correct. Which leads us to, so we've now made it from 1972 to 1980. By this point, Robert Fleischman, who was one of the original singers, along with Greg Raleigh, was with the band for about 4 months before he was asked to leave, and Steve Perry was brought on board. Let's talk a little bit about Steve Perry. Do we have any Perry fans in the house? All right. Well, you're going to see Farouk tonight. He's going to channel Steve Perry for you. So when Eclipse comes on, love these guys. Ken and his group are a fun bunch of guys. So let's talk about Steve Perry. Here's a guy who had been trying and struggling to break into the music business, finally gets this opportunity with Journey. The band becomes a dominant musical force in the 1980s, and then one day in 1987 he turns to his band and says, "That's it, I'm out." Who leaves at the top of their success like that? Can you give us a little insight about Steve Perry's mindset with the band from maybe 1980 to 1987?
1980 to 1987, we would take a 45-minute professorial answer. But suffice it to say, he had been touring night after night after night, month after month, all over the world, from Japan all across the United States and Canada to Europe, every single year from 1978 to 1983, and then the band took a break. He was going to leave the band at that point, but they did get back together in 1986 for that Raised on Radio album. Anyone out there remember Be Good to Yourself, Suzanne, Why Can't This Night Go On Forever, Positive Touch? But he went back out on the road and he just couldn't take it. And for his own sanity, he stepped off the road on February 1st, 1987, and he has not been on tour since.
I don't know if anybody's been keeping up with the news, but Ultimate Rock just interviewed Perry, and he's actually considering coming back. Oh, when was it? Oh, Stone did it? Because Ultimate Rock must have picked up that article. Alright, so Steve Perry's actually talking about a return. Not to Journey, but a return to the stage, which would be kind of cool. Alright, so before we wrap things up here and do what we came here to do, and that's listen to Eclipse rock the house tonight, does anybody out here have any questions for David? Something that's been plaguing you, something that's been interesting to you about the band, and you'd like a little more detail? His book is thorough. It is a thorough examination of the history of the band, like none other than I've read. Anybody with questions, just raise your hands. I'll come over with a mic if you got a question. No? No? All right, fantastic. David does have books here to sign.
Thank you for asking. Yes, we did bring books. My assistant, otherwise known as my son, is sitting there at that table. I will be joining him for the show right after this interview, and we will be selling books right there at that table. Come on down at any time during the show, and we will be there happy to sell your book. And of course, you get my signature on it when you buy it tonight.
Grab a book.
Fantastic. Any other questions from our fans out there, from all of our Journey fans? All right, well, folks, listen, thank you all so much. This was a great opportunity to have a historian here with us who knows the bands backwards and forwards. You have got a spectacular evening of entertainment planned with the band Eclipse. Come